That's it. I believe we're live. We're good. I think we're good to go. I'm always a little nervous. Without Mike, he got rid of all the nerves because he just took care of all this tech stuff. But yeah, we're live on YouTube for the time being. Weirdly enough, we're still surviving on there. And but you can always find our video episodes also on our Rumble channel. So that's probably the safest place to check out our video episodes because chances are eventually they'll be removed from YouTube, but they are live streamed every other Monday on YouTube. We've been pretty consistent with the day, not always the time. Life's a little crazy, but every other Monday we live stream on YouTube. So for the time being, while we're there, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can go to the Union of the Unwanted.com to find all our links to our Rumble, YouTube, everywhere else you can find us, all our social media platforms, and much more, merch and all that stuff. So do that. And then the Mondays we don't do a live show. We release a reunion flashback show, which is just some amazing older shows that we've done that maybe people forgot about, or if they're a new listener, maybe they never heard. We've had some amazing past guests: Roseanne Barr, Del Bigtree, G. Edward Griffin. I mean, just go down the list of people. Judy Mikovich. So many great guests. We've done shows on near-death experiences, flat Earth, Bitcoin. It's so many just great episodes. So keep a lookout for that. Make sure to subscribe to our RSS feed so you can get all of that. And I think that's it for the business.
I must say, Ricky, I had a chance to hang out with Sam last weekend in person.
Yeah.
So we had one half of the starting four in Tennessee at Steve Poikonen's event called Third Eye Carnival, and we're nice enough to have Steve join us to get a recap of this event and why there are future ones in the forecast, and why you might want to think about getting yourself to Pueblo in July.
Hey, do you like live music? Do you like live podcasts? Do you like live comedy? Do you like great food? Do you like incredible people? Do you like a beautiful setting? Do you like an accommodating environment that makes you feel better about absolutely everything in your life? Holy shit, do I have a party for you, because that's what I do. I put those on in multiple locations across the country so that you don't have to be some fucking clout chasing fucking faggot who's like, hey, I need to do a one time only event in a location that's going to make me look good. No, dude, I want to make you look good because you guys actually do look good. And so what we do is the exact opposite of every conference, of every clout chasing little one night off show. We make it possible for people who want to do something different to get together and then hang out with each other and then have the absolute time of their lives. And you can't fake that funk, dude. You can't. It's so freaking awesome. It's
Great.
tremendous. Look, a lot of
what's
people.
the date and location?
Okay, so the one that we just had was 2 weekends ago in Tennessee. We're gonna have another one in Pueblo, Colorado, 4th of July weekend at the
Nice.
Blowback Gallery, which also coincides with a Truth Community Art Show. It's really freaking cool. It's a 7,000 square foot art gallery, one of the coolest venues I've ever been in my entire life. We're gonna go to El Paso, Texas this year, run it back in California a couple of months later. All of these things are designed to be replicated, not scaled, and to be like legit, because I've done the whole conference thing. I've done the whole festival thing. I've done, we think we're special and we can have a couple of people on stage in a captive audience that already thinks we're special. Dude, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't. and I see so much of it, but this thing is way outside of that. And people walk away from it with lifetime relationships. It's really freaking cool. Get out there.
Yeah, I'm surprised always how far away people come to go to it. I sort of assume that it's going to be people that are in the general area, which is reasonable. But I'm always kind of surprised when someone has driven like across country. And the Pueblo one that happened a few times.
Ooh, touchy.
And Nashville too. Same thing. People, loading up their camper and driving from New York to essentially Kentucky, Tennessee,
New York, Oregon, Maine, California, Canada, Florida, freaking Arizona. People come from all over the country to show up for this because they know they're going to get something that's actual.
They got Leonardo Joni calling half of the audience faggots, and Sam Tripoli claiming that he crushed, but only on the left side of the barn. So
well,
it was a great weekend. It was a lot of fun. Steve, you guys did a great job. Pasta was over there cooking. Kurt Metzger came up on stage. Seven Seas was on there. Scott Armstrong. Sam and I we just had too much fun. It's great. And I agree with Steve. If you have the luxury of being able to get out and maybe travel for a couple of days and go to one of these events, be it Third Eye Carnival or Narcapulco, which I've been to a bunch, or some of the other ones, Music and Sky, Confluence, Pork Fest, go do it, because you're not going to regret it. You're only going to feel more connected. You'll have some nice memories from it, things that they can't take away from you. Who knows how much longer we're going to be allowed to travel the way we have. I mean, I can certainly envision a scenario in which clearly they don't want us flying. They're making the experience terrible on every level. They're amplifying all of the tragedies as well to make sure that you're freaked out by that. So look, while we can, go do that stuff. You honestly will not regret going to these live events and connecting up with people.
I've been to about half of the events that you've listed as either a speaker or just an attendee, and they're all amazing. You always come away with better friendships. If anybody can't make it out to Pueblo in Colorado, June 20th and 21st, Central Florida, just outside of Orlando, we'll be doing what do we call it? Bohemian Grove number 2. I think Tripoli's our closer. I'm not sure, but yeah, it'll be me, Nephilim Death Squad boys, Tower Gang guys. It's fun.
And it looked like you guys were having a good time
fucking
last year.
Hilarious, because a couple of years ago when I was in Sonoma County, Clint and I were on Union of the Unwanted, and I was living 12 miles away from the Bohemian Grove. And I had a t-shirt company that was partially incorporated with the show that was called Bohemian Grove. And we were like, hey, dude, it'd be funny as shit to do an event that we called Bohemian Grove. And then like 2 months later, Clint's like, hey, we've got an event in Florida called Bohemian Grove.
For the record, I didn't name it. That was Top Lobster and David of Nephilim Death Squad came up with it. But
yeah, but they watched.
Oh, maybe they got it from that. Yeah, I don't know. But I'll give you credit from now on.
It looked like fun though last year.
It was amazing,
dude.
man.
That looks like a little fucking great party. It does.
It was amazing.
Leonardo
Joni absolutely fucking shut the place down. She is
she's
so fun.
Freaking murderer, dude. She's a savage.
Yeah.
She's the best for real. I think tickets are at toplobster.com, so you guys can check it out. Anyways, I know we wanted to talk about Bill Maher butting up with Trump. Anybody? No?
Oh, well, okay. So everybody knows that Bill Maher is a deleterious simp, right?
Like I want to say that he is the only one he participated in Vanishing of the Bees, in that he donated footage without charging me. And that at one point before the Rona, I was actually going to be on the show to talk about the bees, and I, believe it or not, helped him get Russell Brand on the show. People would wonder why he needs me to help him when he has a booker, but I did get Russell Brand on the show many years ago to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of colony collapse disorder. But then Russell ended up not really talking about neonicotinoids, and I discussed with Bill Maher to be on the show, and then the Rona hit. But the point is that everybody knows he's hated on Trump big time, and now he's saying, I wish that Trump showed the side of him that he showed me to the public, which is just, BS, right? But it just shows how the Overton window and how everybody's in on changing the temperature of the nation with being pro Orange Man.
No, I think it shows how flexible everyone's principles are. Maher is I've never been able to stand the guy. I remember his old show, Politically Incorrect. It was on way back when, and I worked in a data center. We had a portable TV, and that was the only thing we could get in there. So I watched that show too many times, and it was when Clinton was president, and he was never politically incorrect on anything. Ever. He was the most politically correct guy I've ever seen. All he did was defend Bill Clinton. It's a typical liberal Democrat, except for he was, crazy about the only libertarian thing about him was wanting to legalize drugs. But he's very flexible. He is incredibly pro-war. He's a hardcore Zionist. That may be why he likes Trump. If he does like Trump, they have, something in common there, where they can both rant and rave about going to war with Iran or whatever. But I wouldn't trust anything Maher does. I think he does everything out of expediency, and obviously we know Trump is flip-flops in the wind as well. But it was a little surprising, but not really. If you look at Maher's.
Don, you're absolutely correct, and the best thing that ever happened to Bill Maher was Kyle Dunnigan. I don't know if anybody's seen Kyle Dunnigan doing the Bill Maher parody, but my goodness, you should really check that out. It's
elite.
Solid.
Yeah, you don't have to guess as to why Bill Maher likes Trump. He says it explicitly. He says, this guy's a lunatic. He does this, he does that. But he did move, the embassy to Tel Aviv, and every time he has anything even remotely positive to say about Trump, it is about Israel and about being afraid of Islam and hating Iran. So that doesn't surprise me. It's obvious that, I'm of two minds on this, because yes, I don't really want to be in a country where we are constantly talking about assassinating political leaders and burning things down and being very violent. So I appreciate his framing of it, that shouldn't we talk instead of just suing each other for saying that your father's an orangutan or whatever. But at the same time, it also demonstrates a lack of credibility when it comes to the constant claims of him being a fascist and a dictator, and he's going to take over. He's never going to leave the White House, which Maher led the charge on that claim, saying he was never going to leave the White House. This was in 2019. And then obviously Trump did. So it's just, I don't know. I don't know how to read it other than he's probably trying to angle for, political favors. That'd be my guess, and accessibility.
There were rumors that Laura Loomer initiated a lawsuit. I don't know if it was he's on ABC now, Bill, but
not HBO.
Oh, sorry. So she initiated a lawsuit, I believe, against HBO, and there was an idea that perhaps it was to temper the waters. I don't know if any of you heard that.
Well, that was because Bill Maher said without evidence that she was sleeping with Trump on Air Force One. So Laura is the type that would bring that lawsuit regardless, but that would be an interesting angle that she brought it to try and get him to be nicer to Trump. She certainly is ride or die for Trump to the end of the earth, so that's possible.
She's ride or die for the state of Israel first.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's got something in common with both of them, so they could easily be not strange bedfellows. All again, this all in common here is that Zionist strain, and it's becoming more and more obvious. If you see people like Tim Pool, if you heard recently that he had some kind of first of all, how is Tim Pool getting a meeting with a foreign head of state like Netanyahu? Why
because under that beanie, Don,
Yeah.
is a tinier hat.
Yeah,
How the
must-
fuck is this not obvious to everyone? There's a
That's for sure.
tinier hat under the beanie. Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, that was
Well,
astounding.
Tim very has seeded the narrative, and I used to watch him just to keep a tab on temperature on what he's seeding the narrative with, because he has a lot of sway, and he would
Yes.
insert little lies, I call them tries, that people wouldn't necessarily pick up on, but it's been very obvious that Tim Pool is it is part of the club. Let's just put it that way.
You guys see the Kim Iverson thing, right? He has a little issue with Kim Iverson.
Yes, yeah, and I was on Kim Iverson's last. Kim
Don,
Iverson's nice.
okay.
Yeah.
I spent 78 hours driving over the last week and a half. I drove from Marin County, California to Nashville, Tennessee, and ran it back. I had a lot of time in the car to listen to some stuff. Don, I listened to your interview with Kim Iverson. Don, you know I love you. I do. You're one of the people that I respect tremendously. I have nothing but, absolute admiration and love for your work.
You know a dagger's coming after that intro.
Yeah, I'm saying except for that. Okay.
Kim is one of the most incurious fucking idiots in this space. It's so goddamn hurtful. It's so depressing to listen to her show because she asks the most baseline nonsensical bullshit unnecessary questions, and I commend you for hanging in there and going.
She's a lovely person. I think she's had me on 3 times, and she was so patient with me because I don't know what they were. My internet here, I've had the people come out several times. I don't know what they're doing, but it's like they knew I was going to be on our show or something.
Of course they knew. Of course,
I couldn't get anything to work. I couldn't get the camera, the microphone, nothing worked. And she was so patient. For about a half an hour we sat and we finally did it on my phone. And she was saying, your phone looks better anyhow. You should always use your phone. So, but she's, we talked about Tim Pool. She's the only one I saw talking about the Tim Pool and Netanyahu thing. And I think, and she has been on Tim Pool's podcast, so she knows him and I guess is kind of friends with him. But she,
Don, that's
called him out
because
for it.
you only watch mainstream people. If you watched Charlie's show, if you watched my show, if you watched Ricky's show, you would hear legitimate conversations about that guy, but you're watching mainstream shit.
Well, no, I don't know if it's mainstream alt, I guess, but I mean, I don't know she calls out Zionism all the time. She talks about Israel, as you know, in our interviews. She talks about it a lot. She's very, which a lot of that media doesn't, especially the mainstream alt media or whatever you would call it. But I don't know. I mean, you see it.
My brother in Christ, I need to say this. I really do, because my fiance loves Kim Iverson, and she is without question the most incurious individual in this space, dude.
That's probably her role, Steve. That's why she's given license the way she is.
I haven't followed her work closely, but I've always found her to, like, any of the things I have seen, she's gone pretty hard. I mean, she went very hard on Tim. So what is her blind spot? I'm just curious.
She's got all of them, dude. It's okay.
Definitely not Israel. She talks about Israel a lot.
No, she rubs up against the narrative, but she will only rub up against the narrative when you have the Associated Press doing a bigger and better deep dive than your quote unquote independent media people. Your quote unquote independent media people aren't independent. They're hanging on to the advertising. It look, dude, I know I do this a lot, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But it's really fucking frustrating to come from a point where like we were right 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 20 years ago.
40
And
years ago.
we've got an example with Charlie Robinson right here, and Don Jeffries, who was right about a lot of shit 20, 25, 35 years ago. Don is sitting in a fucking Cadillac position right now, where he should be like, yeah, dude, these people are agreeing with me. And Don, you're so humble and you're so willing to defer your own power that you should take, that you're like, no, man, no, I'm agreeing with them. You're not agreeing with them, Don. They're agreeing with you.
Of course, Steve. I understand, but I mean, somebody like Kim, first of all, she gives me a much bigger platform than I can get. And she doesn't, I said, you heard me. I said the same thing there that I would say here or anywhere else. There was nothing off limit. I was just as radical as I am anywhere else. And she seemed to be receptive to everything I was saying. Maybe she does that with everybody. I don't know. But she's been that way before too.
But that's the thing, Don, is that they're agreeing with you. You're not agreeing with them, and you're such a nice guy. You're such a genuinely lovely human being. You are, and I know that. You're like, oh no, they're agreeing. I'm agreeing with them, but you're not, dude. You paved the entire way for people to be able to have this information. You did, like, almost by yourself, Don. Give yourself a giant fucking pat on the back, dude, because you're the reason that people are able to access this information. Like, it's not them. It's not you coming around to their way of thinking. It's them coming around to your way of thinking because of all of the blood and sweat and tears that you put into it personally. Don Jeffries, like, I wish you got way more fucking flowers than what you get, because you're a fucking legend, dude. You really are.
I protest.
Yeah.
On Substack, subscribe to his newsletter.
I appreciate. Yeah,
I republish it at Activist Post. I can't argue with you, Steve. But Don,
Steve, I've never had so many great things said about me when somebody was disagreeing with me. So I appreciate it, Steve.
And I had a similar conversation with David Icke a couple weeks ago, where I wished him a happy 30th anniversary of talking about the Kennedy Israel connection back in 1995, before it was cool. And that book is 30 you could have had the information 3 decades in advance if you just had the right sources.
Right.
Yep.
I want to say that's how it's going to be with my book, that my colossal book
Nobody's going to be allowed to
5
buy your book, Maryam. Everybody knows that.
Yeah. There's only 100 prints in copy. They made sure to tell me it's a print, and I'm getting 100 because it's the 5-year anniversary. If you could believe, it's 5 years. And this is, I mean, the people who bought the book are blown away by the information.
Who's the publisher, Maryam?
There is no publisher. Supposedly the third publisher is Moon Rocks, but here we are. He made sure to tell me it's a print and can't tell me when to publish. So that means, what does that mean, folks? It's just like if it's a controversial record, they just release one song and then they dick around with the artist. So I know as a visionary that if you have a copy on Abe or Biblio in the future, this is an investment. You will be able, long after I'm gone, this is actually a playbook of how, I mean, it's a manual on how the playbook, it's so intricate, and it's thousands of hours of work. I mean,
Maryam, as of now, how could I get a copy of that if there's only 100 available?
You
Is that
can-
what you're saying?
I sold 100. I'm working on raising the money to, so you buy, if you go on maryamhenein.com/George Floyd book, you can reserve a copy. But I can tell you, because I'm fundraising and I'm calling the customers, and I have a film as well. They don't know that there's a film, and they're like, how did you get all this information? And it's all footnoted. There's hundreds and hundreds of footnotes. When I was checking the footnotes, half of them are gone. They're like literally scrubbed off of archive.org. So, this is going to be in, like, it took 60 years for RFK. It's going to be another 60 years and I'll be gone by then. So I know that I did it as a record keeper.
I've never heard anything like this. I mean, I've had 10 books published, and I have lots of complaints about my publishers because every time I get a royalty check, I'm unpleasantly surprised every time.
Oh, that's nice.
It doesn't
That's
matter.
nice.
But in your case, you should. I don't understand what printing 100 copies. Why wouldn't they? That seems like
Because
something
I'll
we
tell you
print
why. Because
on demand.
the first publisher effed up my formatting, and I, as a first-time author, he sourced my intelligence for his chapter. Then another publisher came along, wasted 6 months of my life, then said she was scared for her life. And now I'm on my third, technically, publisher, which is Moonrock Books, but he's had it for a year. And of course, I want to make the most of the 5-year anniversary. And so I'm
Marianne,
raising,
like Don was just saying, why don't you go with print on demand so that way you can control it and you can be
well,
in
I'm not
charge
on
of how.
Amazon. I'm banned on Amazon, and I don't know.
There's Barnes and Noble also has a print on demand option as
Yeah,
well.
I have my books.
Yeah,
on Barnes and Noble.
I would need some help doing that, but because
Well, you can
Really help her
go
out.
through Lulu or something. You can go through Lulu, which is what I had to do with
What is
Midnight
it?
Rider News for. It's called Lulu, Lulu. It's self-publishing,
Oh,
but
Lulu.
it's that's something that they make it look. In your case, a book like that, you're going to sell more. That you should be able to sell more than 100 copies really easily. So to limit it
Oh,
to 100 copies,
absolutely.
that's ridiculous.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm selling them for $88 a pop, because I know how valuable this information is. So you can
Amazon is selling Don's books for $999 a pop, right, Don?
Yeah, not that I get any pennies of it. Yeah, they're the used ones. I think the hardback of Hidden History sells for that. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing, but I get so little
Yeah, I
from
mean,
that
since
that it's,
I've been sharing that, I've definitely had people say, I want to reserve a copy. So people can go to Maryam Henein /George Floyd book.
What do you mean? You're banned from Amazon? I'm
banned on Bumble. The Bee Lady's banned on Bumble. I got a cockroach in my lunch the week of the Black Friday, because still to this day, nobody knows the details of the shanking of Derek Chauvin. And there's a whole movement to free him. And yes, he did not get a fair trial. I actually covered it for Activist Post every single day. However, what's in my book is that he trained at the School of Assassins. And, I don't think whoever's initiating the free Derek Chauvin wants to know that he trained with where they train dictators.
Contact me, and because the guy I know that did because we had to go that way with Masking the Truth, the COVID book, because nobody would publish it. And if you go through Lulu, and this guy is Midnight Rider News, it's a little better than self-publishing because you don't have to do any of the stuff, and your royalty rate's much higher. But I'll ask him if he'd be interested, maybe. But I don't know if there's this guy own your rights that has it. You have to figure out what.
No, I have the rights. It doesn't fit. That's the thing. It's not his version, so it's a print. It's so there. It doesn't fall within the purview of the contract, and he says that he's still working on it. But it's been a year, and the anniversary is coming up. So
Yeah,
does
time
that
to
make
move on.
sense?
Yeah, I wouldn't mess around with him anymore. Just contact me and I'll see. I don't know if he'd be interested or not, but he might be. I don't know.
Don, I have a question for you because I see this conflict a lot where kind of like the people that have been in this world for a long time get upset with some of the other people that come around, like the Sally Come Latelys, and then they spread their message and they do it in a way that's, maybe 80% right, but 20% wrong.
Yeah.
Like what comes to mind is I'm buddies with Ryan Dawson, I'm buddies with Ian Carroll.
Ian Carroll, yeah.
Whitney Webb. There's lots of examples of this, like people that kind of explode on the scene.
Yeah.
Ian goes out of his way to cite all of these people all the time, but he still gets mercilessly dragged by David Icke and Whitney Webb and Ryan Dawson.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that when your work gets cited by someone on the largest platforms? Is that a net positive, or are you upset?
Anybody that cites my work, as long as they don't misrepresent it, that's a good thing. Ian Carroll, I do wonder about. All of us wonder about somebody that came to the forefront so quickly. Because I think he said he woke up in 2019 or something, and I was awake in the 1970s. So, it's like
he hasn't even been putting out content for 2 years yet. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, so I always look. I mean, in the case of Whitney Webb, I had Whitney on my show a few times years ago, and she's too big for me now. She hasn't answered my emails for a long time, and I think she does great work. I love her work, but she comes from a very wealthy family. I think that helps. And I don't know what Ian Carroll's background is, but a lot of times where you have money, because to be honest, I know that a lot of people do this when they put their books out. If right away when your book comes out, you buy probably as low as 1,000 copies of your book.
Wow.
Right away. It's going to propel it to the bestseller list.
Wow.
That quickly. And people are followers. So if they see that, they'll start buying it. Oh, that's a bestseller. I got to buy this book.
Taking notes to myself about my next book.
1,000?
5,000 copies.
Are there that few people that are reading on the planet that 1,000 books is?
There are people.
It's at one time. And if you buy 1,000 books like within a week, your book will shoot. I mean, it'll probably go, I don't know, the top 10, but it'll go like higher than 100. It'll go very high.
Crazy.
And
So I want to give an example to what Clint was saying. Like a few weeks ago, Michael Jaco had an entire episode on color revolution and George Floyd. So he's had me on his show. So I went to message him. Oh, look, you bought my book. It's probably off camera, and you're doing a whole show on my intelligence without once mentioning me.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, it's and that happens, and it's very frustrating if you see somebody like I get a little. I was the first one to launch an independent investigation of JFK Jr. I know I was, and some people have attributed me, have quoted me, but not everybody. They did a documentary on it. They didn't ask me to participate in anything like that. So it hurts a little when you see that, but it is what it is. And I'm glad that these things are coming. That's why I try not to, like somebody like Kim Iverson, who's been very nice to me. I'll be on Jeff Rentz again tonight. He has a big audience, and lots of people don't like him, and they're always telling me he gives me a nice platform.
He's been nothing but nice to me over the years. He's just
this is why I get a lot of shit for this, but this is why I defend people like Tim Pool. Is that he put me on the map. He lets Scott Horton go on there and run wild. He sets up debates that otherwise wouldn't be in front of such a significant audience size. But at the same time, like even though he's a personal friend at this point, I still found his meeting with Netanyahu extraordinarily bizarre, and I did an episode of Liberty Lockdown about it because it's like I still have to be honest with my audience. It's just it always puts you in a tough spot because like his platform has advanced a lot of people that I think are in pursuit of genuine truth, but then at the same time, his show tends to, get away from Israel as aggressively as possible at times when those guests aren't on there. So I don't know how to.
So Clint, can I ask you, like, sure. What do you legitimately think is being advanced that isn't already perfectly encapsulated in the allowable parameters for acceptable conversation? Like what's moving past that? because every time I see a clip of Tim, he's like, hey, you can't talk about that. No, you got to pull back from that. You can't do that. No. So what in your opinion is he advancing?
Well, I think what he's advancing is he's opening up his audience's eyes, which are, generally, center right people, to pretty far-fetched ideas by their normal Overton window.
Could
yeah,
you
when I
explain that, man, without like broad
hold on one
brushing it? Like, could I
hold on one
please
sec.
get an
Hold on one sec.
actual example?
I'm trying.
Yeah.
So I go on there and I'm arguing, very aggressively about ending aid to Israel, particularly ending munition shipments to Israel as they're, participating in the war in Gaza. Tim generally agrees with that principle. So I think that having that reach a largely MAGA audience is a net benefit. Now, he will also push back on USS Liberty and other things like that. So, you take the good with the bad.
So are we supposed to couch this entirely into what's good for Clint? Because the only explanation you could put forward was it's good for my platform.
That's not what I said. I said that
that is what you said.
That is not what I said. I said having his audience hear a message like, hey, we should end aid to Israel is a positive.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with Clint, and I think Don and probably Charlie, and I don't know everybody else's opinion, but like I think these platforms these people aren't perfect. So their shows aren't going to be perfect either.
Yes.
I'm all for the idea that like, oh, I've been, I know Maryam's been doing this for a long time. I haven't been doing this for that long, but since 2013, I was going down that rabbit hole of having anti-vaccine people on real early before it was a kind of a hot topic, and that's okay. And then if people are getting to that, if their journey is leading them to that spot now, like everybody gets there at a different rate and a different time. And I get it. Like Tim Pool is not really a good example of that.
Ricky, could I ask you to present some evidence that
people talk
there are people getting there?
Steve,
besides you?
Hold on. No. It's not about anybody getting there. It's about the fact that this is just
you just said that though.
Hold on, Steve. You don't even know what people are saying because you don't let them talk. How about you hold on, hit the brakes, and let people finish their sentence? Now, the thing is, logically, if you have a big platform, you're going to reach a lot of people. That's why it's called a big platform. So if you have somebody on like Clint, okay, or you have somebody on like Sam, who's been on Tripoli, and you have many friends of ours that have been on this show, or that have been on the Unwanted, have been on his show, you are logically going to expose a big platform of audience to these people who will give them I think in many opinions.
Let me back you up, Ricky, because just real quick, because I've been on as many times as I've been on, Dave has been on, Scott has been on, I get messages constantly from people that go, I was hard in the paint, pro-Israel. I found you through Tim Pool, and then I found Dave Smith, and then I found Scott Horton, and now I totally get it. My eyes are open. So I understand Steve's, pushback with this, but it's just not true that there aren't people that aren't coming to the truth as a consequence of Tim having a generally open platform.
You don't have to do anything to be like pro-Palestinian though. Like that's kind of a fucking wild argument to me.
No, nobody's making the argument that people are making is the fact that this idea that a big platform that gets a lot of things wrong will have somebody on there that you enjoy and like and will share.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think
it's not a bad thing. This idea that like, oh well, Tim Pool's wrong about this. Yeah, but he is. But he has people on that.
Okay, but we're having the same conversation, Ricky, now that we usually have, where the environment is set up to make sure that the pro-Palestinian conversation is the minority, and what it happens in the majority is ball licking for the establishment. So if you're going to spend the majority of your time ball licking for the establishment than your de facto and establishment media outlet.
And that's all.
Steve,
Okay, so if the most mainstream, the whatever platform you dislike the most, has anybody on the show on and gives them a opportunity to maybe expand their own audience because you're exposing them to new and different audience, that's not a bad thing. And it doesn't mean that
it comes down to the quality of the argument. Like
this is
Tim and I have gone at it. Tim and I have gone at it so many times when I've been on his show. And as a consequence of that, some of his audience is ride or die Tim, and they're going to stick with him and his opinion, and they're gonna parrot it. But there are I have an opportunity in that moment to make a more compelling argument, and some percentage of the audience is going to be open-minded enough to hear what I have to say and decide whether or not my argument is more compelling. Like those are the people that we're trying to seek out. We're not trying to seek out the fucking NPC people, anyways. So I just appreciate that opportunity anytime I get it, and I love to see Scott Horton do. I mean, Scott Horton does it on a much better level than I do. So, and as a consequence of him being on there, now he's been on a ton of big shows. He's on Piers Morgan all the time, and he's just absolutely fucking shattering Zionists. So this is all
this is kind of the problem though that you're highlighting. That's the problem. Piers Morgan shouldn't be fucking the arbiter of thought.
No, of course
Well,
he shouldn't.
he's not. But if you want to reach the normies, go to where the normies are.
And you have to reach the normies. We're preaching to the choir. There's so many we have so many podcasts, so many different, and we all have our own levels of audiences, some bigger than others, but none of us have an audience as big as Tim Pool. None of us have an audience certainly as big as Joe Rogan.
I don't want that audience, Don. They're fucking retards. They prove every day that they're fucking retards. They go out of their way to double down on dumb shit, dude. I want to teach the brown belt class. I want to teach the black belt class. That's where the students who actually want to know shit.
You got to help people get a blue belt first, right?
Yeah. No, you don't. You don't. You personally don't. You can go. There's a whole fucking better way. There's a whole different thing that you can be doing where you're not fucking letting people live in their little limited hangout fucking bullshit world, and you don't have to coddle them, and you don't have to fucking treat them like they're as dumb as you fucking think they are. It doesn't have to be that way.
I'd like to say something. I'd like to say that it's about educating the audience to not throw the baby out with the bathwater. I would go on Tim Pool. I would go on Alex Jones. I would go on any platform that gives me a voice. Another thing is the topic at hand and the dangerous versus safe dangerous. I'm an accomplished, award-winning journalist. Why wouldn't Tim Pool have me on for the 5-year anniversary? Is it because this wild card will say things that is beyond my findings or beyond what's accepted right now? Maybe I'll have to wait another 10 years because there's an Overton window, and these mainstream people are in the establishment and they do gatekeep for the time is right. And I think it's important to educate people on that. There's a reason why they have the platform that they do. I mean, many of these people could just retweet me, just a retweet. And I could speak for myself. It's just like I did a man on the street. I didn't know who I was doing the man on the street with. It went viral and it got 5.6 million views on Instagram. And then what did they do? Yeah. They banned the people from tagging the bee lady. And then I did a live and I had 4,000 people. And I'm like, oh, this is how it should be. Next day, no more live for you, Mimi. For another 6 months, people will forget. So there are tactics, and the topic is, you have to consider details here.
I feel like we have to get like this. I get it. Like, like I said, I've only been doing the podcast since 2013, but I've been going down these rabbit holes for much longer than that. And I get it. Like I'm used to being the one who looks crazy and gets laughed at, and then eventually they're like, "Hey, you know what? You're kind of right about that." Like I'm used to that. Like I'm over that. Like there's no point of getting upset about, "Oh, well, these people we're black belts or like I don't need to pat myself on the shoulder. I don't really give a shit who gets the credit. I just care about the information going out.
Right.
That's
And these are bigger plans. If we can get these,
Right.
if we're going to have an alt media that's going to mean anything, we need to have a big, and we have to consolidate and come together. Otherwise, what happens is the alt media becomes Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and if they don't let any of us on, then we're not even part of it. But if they let us on, as long as we're true to ourselves and we don't compromise, we're on there.
Exactly.
And then if you're talking to Tim Pool, you be respectful of everybody. But if you can handle yourself well, the audience is going to see who's making sense. And you're gonna have more converts that way, and that's the idea, is to open people's eyes. And it's not about being excited about being on these platforms or anything. I mean, if Jesse Waters of Fox News or somebody asked me on, I would. That doesn't mean I agree with him about anything, but I recognize what that would mean.
Yeah,
for
I'm
maybe
not
reaching
arguing that
enormous.
Piers Morgan should be the arbiter of truth. I'm just
Exactly,
saying he's
yes.
got 1 million viewers on most of his episodes, and he has Scott Horton on regularly, and Scott Horton lights the fucking place on fire. It's beautiful to watch. And I think that's a positive. I don't even understand the argument that it's not a positive.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I think
So
I feel
these
like
things are you. Oh, my bad, Ricky. My bad.
Go, Charles.
sorry.
Yeah, I appreciate that, y'all, Charles. So eyes and ears, AM wake up on Mondays. My question is, so basically these things are used as a launching pad. Like we're not going there to make truces with people. We're not going there to say we agree with people, but we are going there to disseminate information. That's solely what it is.
Yeah.
Regardless of who that person is. Like, I guess some might see that as a thing. Like, if the CIA had a podcast that reached 1 billion people, would y'all go there knowing who the CIA is? Like, would y'all cross certain lines like that, I guess?
Sure, I would. The CIA has at least 2 of my books in their library. They're one of the first people to buy it. So I mean, what am I going to do? Object to that? Yeah, of course. I mean,
I've been thinking of it as, people have gone through the last couple of years of COVID, and these people that had normally been very trusting of the media, and for a segment of the population, it was enough to just kind of wake them up that the media is lying to them, and they've come to that conclusion recently, and they're free agents. They're basically like, I'm news media free agents. Just tell me what the story is, and then I'll make up my mind how I want to feel about it. You know what I mean? I don't need the slant. And so I'm doing that with Activist Post. I'm out there trying to get these people that are media, news free agents. They're like, I don't want the mainstream. What else is out there? So, there's a lot of them out there floating around.
I think
trying to figure it out.
It's really undersold how much more open-minded even the more normie mainstream internet platforms are than like the people that are still sitting at home watching Fox News or CNN or whatever. Like,
So
if you're watching Piers Morgan, I'm not saying that you're fucking some super red pilled Super Saiyan legend, but you are more interested and more open-minded than someone who's just turning on the nightly news every night.
We've had such a clear delineation from the allowable parameters of conversation in, I don't know, but pick an arbitrary date, 2016. Okay. Over the last 8-9 years, there's been such a shift in where the allowable parameters of conversation have been allowed to take place. It is incumbent on people who are legitimately a part of the independent media to be like, hey, the conversation shifted to here because now it's safe. Sam Tripoli talks about this all the time in terms of what is safe, dangerous. We've come to a place where safe, dangerous is very popular. And dangerous is still you're going to get everything you ever loved taken away from you. The people
can
who
vouch for
have, yeah, Maryam can. She's had her whole fucking life wrecked. So have I. There have been a number of other people that have gone through like seriously debilitating shit because of what they said early. And it's the people who come in late who are like, hey, yeah, dude, isn't that crazy? Right? Wow, that's
And
wild.
you could argue, Ricky, like it's just about getting the information out. But as a journalist that's not driven by money, you know, it's about getting the credit. And if you have someone doing an entire show based on your information, no, that's not cool. That's not cool, because my book could become a bestseller and it's for the records. Yes, it's big. Who reads anymore? But they can tool through it, and it's like a whodunit deep state thriller, because it's not just about George Floyd. It's about all the characters and what was really going on with money laundering and drug cartels and government complicity. And that is dangerous when you have ties to the Podesta group and you have receipts. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
and Maryam stuck her neck out when it fucking mattered. That's what I'm trying to get across. Like when it was important.
And
when
also, thank you, Steve. Also, I didn't know what I was going to find, right? I'm a very good journalist. I'm very diligent. I'm detail oriented. And I really didn't know what I was going to find. I just didn't tap out. And 5 years of work, this is very dark, right? In the over scheme of things, this is not what my soul wants to write.
Anyone stealing your entirety of your work and not citing you on it, they're obviously doing you a serious injustice. So
that would be Tucker Carlson. That would be the media group that he works for. That would be the media group that a number of other people that are highly influential in mainstream alternative media work for. Maryam put her neck out on the line when it mattered.
Hey, Dawn,
what she got was stomped on.
I'm curious if you've ever had this happen with any books that you've published, but when Berwick and I put out Controlled Demolition of the American Empire, we put it out on a Friday. On Saturday, there was a new book that was called A Summary of the Controlled Demolition of the American Empire.
Wow.
The very next day.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
I
I never
messaged,
had
Jeff actually messaged me and he goes, is this you? I was like, no.
Wow.
What are you talking about? And I go, what do you want to do about it? He goes, I don't give a fuck.
Well, he's
who
probably
published it? Do you know?
I don't know. It was some like AI.
Yeah.
AI replicated it in.
What I've had, and what happens all too often, are the reviews that come out before the book's available, the 1-star bandits.
Oh,
and that
that's
has happened
fine.
quite a bit. Yeah, and I even complained to Amazon. I said, look, I don't care what people write about my books, but this is impossible for this person to review it because I didn't send them a review copy, and it's not available yet. So how are they giving it 1 star? And but they don't do anything about it. But no, I haven't quite had that. But I would just say try to have. I got to run in a minute, but I appreciate you guys having me, and I would just say try to stress, Steve, I love you too. And I would just say, I don't know what dangerous is, but I think the dialogue has opened up, especially around Israel and even the Jews, which weren't able to talk about before, Jewish power.
Well, I would argue they want that it's one big anti-Semitic trap, and that's why
it may be. And I thought of that when they had all the references to Israel. No, it's not. But I think we ought to be able to talk. We ought to be able to talk about, foreign policy and what's happening in Israel, how our foreign policy is controlled by them, and we never could before. That was something we couldn't talk about. So I'm not sure what topics really there. I mean, yeah, maybe some really esoteric topics, but I and anybody that would give me the chance to be on, I'm going to be tactful. I'm not going to be, and I think I'll make my case well. And Maryam, I don't know about Tucker Carlson or anybody stealing from your ideas, but they would have to know about you. So if they knew about you,
of course they know about me. The government is describing me as a psycho kook. I'll give another example before you jump off. My Movies Plus bought my film. I bought all the footage with my own money from the United States government. I made an amazing film with Sean Hibbler. A year later, The Fall of Minneapolis comes out. So Liz Collins saw my film because there's a shot in there of Officer Tutau signaling the extras, I mean the bystanders. And when she was shown my movie, she rolled her eyes that it's a conspiracy theory. If you watch The Fall of Minneapolis, that shot is thrown in completely out of context as a little FU to me, but they don't touch it. My Movies Plus then sat on the movie, and my quarterly check was $24. And I have an amazing film that goes with the movie, with the book, but it's different because the real timeline is just about that incident, and this book is about everything else. So it's a good complementary, but this is a perfect example of how they know about it. They know about my work. Anyone who's dangerous, they use our work years later and pass it off as theirs. Sorry.
Don, before you go, make sure to tell everybody where they can find you.
Substack is the only place I'm not shadow banned. Donald Jeffries at Substack.com. I protest. That's the best place to support me. And it's an odd thing. They aren't. I'm growing a lot with subscribers and views and comments and likes and restacks, but my paid subscribers are going down, so I can't figure that out. I don't know what it's driving me crazy. It's growing. So
well, they mess with the numbers on Substack. There's something with the tally. The same thing happens to me. I've lost 15, but yet something else is going up, and that's also messed with. Let's not forget Substack is out of San Francisco.
We happily republish Don's work at Activist Post.
I appreciate it. And I just one more thing for again, and Steve, this is, and then I got to go. I'm not going to discuss more, but like for instance, Zero Hedge. I'm aware. I'm not Zero Hedge published another one. They published several of my Substacks.
I like Zero Hedge.
Yeah, I can't go. I mean, I think it was up to like 80,000 reads or something like that the last time I looked. So I can't get 80,000 reads on my own. So I mean, of course, and I understand when I read it. I read the comments, but. And you're talking about a rough audience. I mean, they're ridiculous, and they're just So I don't get it. I
love Zero Hedge.
Yeah, but at least it's exposure, and it gets me something. And the guys will do it. So I take it wherever they want. If Rachel Maddow wanted me on, I'd come on and talk to her.
I hope
she. Be polite.
I hope
I
she
would hope
cites
you
your
would,
work.
Don. I would hope you would. That's not my fucking argument, though.
Yeah.
Like go wherever you can. Yes. Please do that, and please educate people in the way that only Don Jeffries can. Dude, I really do. I fucking love you. I think you're a goddamn legend. I think that you've helped open up people's eyes to all kinds of shit that they wouldn't have ordinarily done that. I respect the hell out of you. You're one of my favorite people. I'm also an asshole.
Well, I appreciate the compliments. Whatever else you're going to say, it's very nice of you to say that. And we're all doing the best we can, guys. And please let me know the next time. I appreciate being included in this. Good luck to you, Maryam. And okay, take care, guys.
Yep. So, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
I wanted to. Did any of you cover this Ark of the Covenant CIA document that has been out there for 25 years? Why is it out now?
Yeah.
Because they're building a third temple in Jerusalem, and whoever controls the Ark. I narrated a documentary on the Ark of the Covenant for TLC, and went to my motherland because I'm half Egyptian. And so I looked into it, and I looked into what is really the Ark as far as a frequency. You could argue that it's kind of like a Tesla unit. So I'm just curious if any of you covered that or looked into the timing.
No, but
this is the remote viewing, right? The remote viewers that found the Ark. Well, that's your answer right there. There's your answer. Remote viewer, number one. Number two, Ark of Covenant. So there's something extra in that.
Just so you know, it's been in the reading library for 25 years. Okay, it's not new.
Hey, Nature Boy, did you do the Tesla machine at an Acapulco?
I did.
You did?
I did.
And it worked.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
I used it on my elbow and it made my elbow feel better. Stu, I was just
Yeah.
talking to Stu Peters today.
well,
They
you
used it on his shoulder
Yeah,
at Berwick's party,
yeah.
and I guess he'd had some sort of really bad shoulder injury that had just hadn't like 3 years. It was and it hasn't hurt still.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he was joking or being serious, but he's like, I kind of don't want to talk about the machine on my show. I'm afraid they'll like come kill me.
Oh, wow.
Kind of laughed because like whatever it is, like I don't pretend to know like how it all works, but and actually I didn't even really heard of it until we got to an Acapulco, but I was like, all right,
It
I'll
works
try
with
it.
frequency and voltage where
Yeah, I don't know why it
in
wouldn't.
water.
It's there's two things that it did work on me. The immediate is I have a floater in this eye right here. And the immediate was that it made it fade and kind of pushed it a little bit
Really?
back out of my field of vision.
Wow.
And I had a test for it when I went in. Right here on my sternum bone where the two bones come together, it hurts for a while. I don't know if it's, there's like, it's loose. I don't know, something like that. So when I cough, I usually have to compress my chest. So I went in there and I tried it. It's a test. It wasn't immediate, but about a day or so afterwards, I know I woke up and that pain was gone. And it was gone for a while. I mean, it eventually came back, but I only did, I think, 20-minute treatment that Dylan did on me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I'm still going back and forth, on scraping up some money and getting one of those things while they're still available because, it's a lot of money.
After we did that show on Friday night, after we did the Third Rail, Dave's show, go check it out. Friday nights live. We did it with Berwick. He gave us the email or the website address for it, tzla.club.
Yeah.
And I went and looked it up in my browser. I opened it up. I tried it on every browser. It was
Really?
like, I got a message I've never seen before. It was like,
Wow.
confirmed phishing site, definitely dangerous, certainly can't look here. I tried it in incognito and everything. I still can't get it to open.
Did you get Dylan's information?
No, and
I got his card.
and I did the session with him, and then I saw him several times throughout, and then when he was on my flight back.
I got his card. I think it might have some contact information on it. I'm not sure.
I was just curious to see. No, I don't really need to get a hold of him, but I was just curious to see because it looks, let's be honest, it looks like it shouldn't work.
It looks stupid, ridiculous.
You know what I mean? It's like you're holding these big light bulbs, these big coiled light bulbs, and you're rubbing them against your body, and it smells kind of like ozone-ish from the machine, and the machine's like the size of like a toaster or something. And I don't know how it works, but Dylan told me that when they fired it up at the beginning of an Acapulco, it knocked the power out to the entire event.
Ooh.
Really?
Wow.
But it doesn't. I don't think he said it uses a lot of power. It doesn't draw.
It doesn't use a lot of. It doesn't use a lot of power.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about that. But Teese couldn't get his camera near it because it was screwing up the viewfinder. So Teese was sitting in the passenger side of the RV, filming us sitting on the couch. Me and Mike Middleton, the crypto Mike.
Yeah, there's something to it. I mean, it goes. It's nothing new. I guess it's new to us. But if you go back and look at like Royal Rife's work, way back when with radio frequency waves and his little electron microscope before it was an electron microscope.
I've got a Rife machine right over there.
Well, you do. How does it work? How's it work, Clint?
Well, fuck if I know how it works, but it works.
No, how does it? That's what I mean. How does it?
I don't need to know how it works. I know a guy who knows.
Oh, I see.
Is it good? Is it bad?
I mean, I can't. I'll be honest with you. I'm very like skeptical naturally. So I don't know if it's placebo or if it's doing anything for real. So I'm not a good judge of its actual efficacy, but a lot of people swear by it. So
that's how I felt about the Tesla machine.
Let me give some personal testimony here then, because I have a George Wiseman AquaCure that I pair with because you can set frequency on the AquaCure with a Royal Rife frequency list. I have a stepson, who needs a little help every now and then. And the combination of the AquaCure and particular frequency has helped that kid out so fucking much. So much. Like,
It's great.
it is incredible.
Yeah.
The leaps and bounds this kid has made be, you know, and obviously we're doing everything we can as, you know, parents and, you know, people who legitimately care about this kid and stuff like that. But when you incorporate all of it, it's so much more than just wanting better and trying to do a little like, it's doing so much more than a little bit better. And I can't recommend enough the combination of, you know, the right frequency list and the AquaCure and regular breathing treatments.
Yeah.
It's so fucking good for you.
I've seen. Go ahead.
I use a PMF mat, which is also electrocurrent, and I use it every day. I would love to have a Tesla's unit, but like I said, we're electricity and water, and so what happens is that it's giving more voltage to your body, and then once the body has what it needs, it can go to work. A lot of times there might be absorption issues, like you can't take all the voltage, so one has to be careful. But this shows that it is possible to heal. The body is miraculous. Alas, we're in a frequency jail where there's all these frequencies, and that's why they came after people who spoke about 5G. I mean, I was talking about 5G in 2017, and they came after me. They censored me for that, because they're trying in all ways to loosh us, to take our energy and turn us into batteries, and to slowly kill the population while they make money off of us.
Nature Boy,
guys.
What?
Nature Boy, did you have any of Tim James's Green 85 when you were in Acapulco?
Yeah, when you turned me on to him or actually introduced me, I had a cup of it.
He made that down there with his water hero, like a portable one that he just came on, and we talked about it, and it blew my mind. He's got this device that structures the water, and he started talking about like all they tested it out on this guy's orchard, and like he was going from like selling the entire orchard to instead like getting like 4 times more than he normally had gotten because the water was different. And they found that it was breaking up glyphosate in the soil, but they still don't know why. They're still trying to figure it out. And I was like, God damn, man, like we have access to this information about these products that the general public just doesn't get. This is the benefit of being a weirdo who's into this shit, this alternative stuff. You come across these devices that are like legit and really help people and help you live longer and help you live better and help your kids live better. And like, so we benefit from that. We get no credit. They steal all our shit, all our content and whatever. And what are we going to do? I mean, I just choose to be flattered if they happen to take my stuff.
Yep.
But
also,
we get the benefit of being around all of these brilliant minds that are thinking differently and building solutions to these problems that we recognize before they recognize them, and we have the ability to act before they do. So that's the victory to me. I wish, like I'm glad that I now know Christian Yordanev and have him managing my health and have him doing. I just had a blood drawn for him that he's running through a test. Like, fuck the pharmaceutical industry and big medicine. I'm not dealing with them. Well, this is my payout that I get. I don't get we don't get the money that Tucker gets or Tim Pool or whatever. My payout is that I get access to amazing ideas and opportunities like that, or great people that are doing phenomenal work that's underreported and underappreciated and under financially supported for sure. And I get the benefit of being early.
Well, and it's also
making
just
myself healthy.
It's also just a very interesting path to be on. I love being in this environment with people that are, some of it sounds like totally fucking nutto, and then I'm like, wait, no, they were onto something there, you know. But I wanted to ask you guys, if you don't mind me kind of taking us on a different path. Like, did anybody? I assume most of you have seen the Dave Smith versus Douglas Murray debate, or no?
Oh God, it was the most frustrating thing, Clint.
Yes, it was,
dude. Oh
Clip.
Jesus, dude! I'm sitting there like I'm watching fucking football 20 years ago, yelling at the screen, and on Dave's behalf.
Oh, me too. Yeah, no. The reason I ask is because, like, I think this is a good example of what I'm talking about, where like maybe you go on a platform that generally is more normie land. But like Dave has made an entire career out of, like, he went on PBD. PBD has, you know, parameters that are probably, you know, safe, dangerous, as you guys would describe it. But then he has Dave go on there. Yes, it's 4 years later, but he fucking eviscerates Chris Cuomo in front of a million people or whatever. And then Douglas
it
Murray
doesn't matter.
No. I did see. This is where you and I disagree. Douglas Murray is advocating and will advocate for a war against Iran. You know it, and I know it. So to have him take a reputational hit in this moment matters. The fact that, like, we've had 20 plus years of wars that Douglas Murray has advocated on behalf of that have been catastrophic for not just America and our finances, but also for the world. I think it's fantastic to have an immense audience. I mean, normally Rogan does probably 15 million. With all of the clips and shit that went viral, we're talking 25, 30 million probably, that got to see who this man is for who he is. And some people will never wake up, and some people still hear his flowery accent and they conclude that, well, he must be right. Listen to his fucking posh accent. But for those that are actually paying attention, Dave fucking ate this dude up. And I just think that's a huge value.
I got the most popular tweet I had ever sent this last week on something that I thought was a throwaway line, which was that Douglas Murray is what stupid people think smart people sound like.
Yeah. And Clint, I would love to have an extended conversation with you about this. You blocked me.
Well, yeah,
so
you're vicious to me, dude.
I dropped a clip of Elon Musk talking about what he wanted to do with Twitter in his own words.
Yeah, but that's not all you've done. I mean, you take jabs at me all the time.
That's what I did.
I don't have any problem having a conversation with you. I just don't like being abused. I don't let anybody do it to
Then
me.
come on the show, dude. I'm way less abusive on the platform. I'm way meaner on Twitter.
I'm happy. I
don't give a transhumanist my money for a blue check. So I tend to only have that 140, 240 character limit. It is you know,
so
limiting.
he condenses all of the anger into one.
Yes.
It
requires it to be very sharp. I understand.
Yeah, I don't have any animosity to anybody here. I love all you fucking guys. In fact, Clint, come out to a fucking Third Eye Carnival. It'll be the best fucking time of your life.
I'm happy to come out. You're also welcome to come to Bohemian Grove if you want to, especially since it was named by you. So
you're getting a free T-shirt, I think.
I should.
One quick question.
Free T-shirt.
Yeah, sure.
How do I get? Where's some information on Bohemian Grove? I tried to look it up on Google.
I know we are a rinky-dink outlet, dude. Top Lobster with an A, TOPLOBSTA.com probably has information on it. Like we are in the early stages of planning this thing, but I know that the dates are June 20th and 21st. It's in Leesburg, Florida, just outside of Orlando. So at Liberty Lockpod on X, if anybody wants to follow me, I'll post about it as we get things firmed up. But I know Tripoli is going to be the closer.
You know what I mean? I'd like to go.
Dude, the first one was fucking fun, man. It really was. It's 2 days. It's just like
fun.
It's a bunch of psychopaths. We all get together. We talk shit. We do comedy that's like totally, dangerous, not safe, dangerous for sure. We did an entire hour on adrenochrome. We had like PowerPoint presentation.
I like David and I like Top. They're fun.
They're psychos too. But I do. Oh, by the way, I do a show called Dangerous Retards with those guys now.
I know you do.
Once a week. Yeah. So
please promote it.
They're taking me down the dangerous path.
I know.
I'm very much like, I'm late to the game compared to most of you guys. I've been a libertarian, so I've always like doubted, corporate narratives and things like that. But I was not focused on this world until 2020. So I'm learning.
Yeah, I have an eye for retarded talent. I told those guys, they had me on, I think like the third episode. I was like, you guys,
They got something. They got the
you got
magic. They
something
got the
here.
they got the retard
I know
magic.
it when I see it. There's another show called Hidden in Plain Sight that I love. And those guys have retard talent as well. It's that chemistry. And you just go, you boys together, or you're like Cheech and Chong. Speaking of Cheech and Chong, I just saw that they're doing a Cheech and Chong's final movie. Have you guys had Tommy Chong on?
I'm surprised they're still alive. Honestly, I didn't even know.
No, dude, I had Tommy Chong on Macroaggressions a couple years ago, and he was delightful. We talked about ballroom dancing for like 30 minutes.
Nothing better. Nothing better.
They haven't
Dude.
put out a movie in damn near 40 years. It was probably in the late 80s, early 90s, maybe, when they did.
Yeah.
Cheech and Chong?
Yeah, Cheech and Chong.
78,
That's
up in
70s,
smoke.
yeah.
We
Those in
talked
the
about
70s.
Okay.
how he financed that movie, how they were writing it at lunch. Like they were some scenes were totally ad-libbed.
They
I
did
mean,
it on a
it
shoestring
sounded
budget,
so
too.
great.
That's
It was
awesome.
like B movie budget, but it was a hit. My parents, believe it or not, I convinced my mom to take me to it and watch it live in the theater. And she was like, I'll take the kid to this dang stoner pot movie. She loved it just as much as I did, dude. From
It's a
the
great
opening
movie.
scene, when it starts with Low Rider, I think it is, and you see Cheats get off the couch and step into that bowl of cereal. And if you've ever been in a Cholo house like that, you're like, oh, damn, they got that shit down. Sorry, I shouldn't cuss. All the way through it.
Cheech and Chong was like Tom Green was kind of like that for my generation. My grandpa took me to I think it was Freddy Got Fingered, and my grandpa fucking walked us out of that theater like 10 minutes into it. He's like, "We're absolutely not watching this. I don't know what the fuck this is. Get out of here."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't make movies like that anymore. I say
And
this-
now, and
I
now
say this
Tom
all-
Green is doing like the most wholesome content on
know,
the
it's
internet.
weird.
He's like,
Camping.
hey, dude, I'm on my little farm. I have a mule. We're good. Let's
So
talk
funny.
about how you can be a better person. Like Tom Green is doing, and he created. Okay, I know Adam Curry and Joe Rogan get credit for it. I know they do. But Tom Green had people on Skype in his living room like 3 years before any of that shit happened.
Yeah. Well, Rogan always credits him with inspiring him down this path because he saw him doing the show. So, you're
And
right. Yeah.
O&A, because Opie and Anthony really did kind of
When was
know.
this? What year, Steve? Was this
07,
going on?
I think.
shit. Yeah, 07. Yeah, Clint's right. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember I discovered Rogan in 09. It was like episode 40, and that was the first podcast I got into. And then I was listening to Bill Simmons, and but yeah, like the fact that I got to have Adam Curry on my show, do this show with Adam Curry on it once is just like so thrilling to me. I'm a huge No Agenda fan. I don't think I've missed an episode in like 10 years.
But I know him from MTV.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I'm of
Yeah.
that generation
Well,
where
I-
I'm like, that's the
I-
dude from MTV.
Yeah, I watched MTV but I think he had already gone by the time I was paying attention to MTV. But
Yeah.
so I just know him as
dude.
like the
Yeah,
awesome
dude,
conspiracy
you
guy.
you think I'm envious of his hair back in the 80s? Holy
Dude,
shit.
I'm still
Adam
envious.
Curry
He had the
and Ricky
man hair.
Rackman.
And Ricky
yeah.
Rackman, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
dude.
Oh, but the one other point I wanted to make about the Douglas Murray Dave Smith debate. The other reason I think that it has more value than you're giving it credit is if you actually like follow the backlash to it. How James Lindsay, basically like every hard in the paint Zionist account is just fucking losing their minds over this thing for the past week. That tells me that it had an impact. Whether they want to admit it or not, I think that it definitely sent shivers down some of their
If
spines.
it-
James
for no-
Lindsay is such a fucking whiner, dude.
Yeah, and I used to
Like,
like
I-
James.
At the
Me
bare
too.
minimum,
I had him on the show.
Yeah, me too.
We had a great talk.
It sucks. I don't know what happened to the guy. Honestly, I feel like he's spiraling as a consequence of his replies because his audience, which came to love him because he was this anti-woke warrior, and now he's just like basically woke but only for one nation.
Do you, Clint, attribute all of that to audience capture, or do you think he's leaning into where he knows his money is going to come from?
It's a very good question. I think that he lost a huge percentage of his audience, and now because he's like this, he has this contrarian mindset. He's convinced that because he lost his prior career as this like academic because he came out and he was opposed to that institution, and now he's lost his audience in this arena, and he's basically doubling down, thinking that means that I'm on the right path. You know, like anytime I get pushback, I'm on the right path. And it's like, well, sometimes you get pushback because you're actually wrong. So like, how do you differentiate? I think he's failing to differentiate the two, personally.
That's very fair. Very.
I mean,
fair.
that's my psychoanalysis. I could be totally wrong. Maybe he got a fat fucking check and he's going down the path for that reason. I have no
He's
idea.
got all that Tim Pool Qatar money.
that was pretty funny. I can't believe that this is the pivot, that everyone's just harping on Qatari money.
We went from Roseanne Barr saying the Muslim Brotherhood really runs the media to fucking Douglas Murray being like, Qatar, it's Qatar. They run everything. Are you Are you really that dumb, or do you think we're that dumb?
In fairness, how many Congress people have you seen with a Qatari flag behind them? I mean, it's almost all of them, right?
It's almost all of them.
Every last one. Every last one.
I love this. I want them to continue talking about this. I want them to keep with the Qatari stuff. I want them to continue to all get activated and outraged online at the same time over the same thing, because it outs them. It makes them glow.
And the
it makes
bad
them
position,
glow like the assets that they are. And you go, yes, please keep talking about the Qataris so that we just know exactly who the fuck you are.
Well, and I think that the other thing is, it's from their perspective, they feel like they're actually, destroying the argument that, well, let's get AIPAC money out of politics and whatever. But like, if you're actually talking to a libertarian, which Douglas Murray was, he was talking to Dave Smith. Dave Smith's immediate response will just be like, well, yeah, let's get rid of fucking Qatari influence too in our politics, if that's a thing. Like, we're not focusing on one nation. Like, we want foreign money and foreign influence out of our politics entirely. So it's just a non-issue, really.
I got a question. Do they ever mention the fact that Qatar is where the leaders of Hamas live in luxury?
Oh yeah, they talk about that too. Yeah, I think that's their argument, is that the reason that there's all these protests in America in favor of the Gazans is because Qatar is influencing academia and our political establishment. That's their argument.
Right. That logic is so false when you follow the money. When you look at, it
doesn't matter. This messaging isn't for you.
Yeah, I know.
This messaging is for a totally different demographic.
Bro, I've got friends,
low IQ dummies that are getting information in 5-second bursts. They see that a couple times. It gets lodged in their normie head, and they go on sputtering on about Qatari money without ever. Of course, it's horseshit.
I have a disagreement. They're not all low IQs. I know some very smart people that are buying into this stuff.
Okay,
I will, stock and barrel, and I'm like,
I will agree to clarify that. Yeah, you can be pretty smart and fall into this trap too. But and maybe you're just busy. Maybe you just don't give a fuck. You don't care.
A lot of people don't pay attention, and it really does challenge their foundational belief system. So if they're given an excuse to not have cognitive dissonance, well, then they're going to accept that.
That's it. Yeah.
That's very common, unfortunately.
It is. I see it. I have a friend that I kayak with, and he's a brilliant man, very successful, badass house, kind of one like your house, Charlie, one of those really nice ones. We were out kayaking. My other buddy's eyes is starting to wake up. They're opening, but he's fully aware of, chemtrails and geoengineering. And us three were out kayaking about a month ago, and there's this long chemtrail that went from horizon to horizon. And right next to it was a contrail. So it was like, oh, this is a beautiful teaching moment. And we've been trying to get it through his head, and we pointed it out. This is a contrail. This is a contrail. This is a chemtrail. This is the difference between the two. And he's like, yeah, man, I get what you're saying, but man, if that was true, don't you think we'd hear about it on the news? Don't you think that this geoengineering would be everywhere? And I looked at him. I says, bro, the news media's in on it. And then it was kind of like, that's where the conversation ended. Y'all have ever been like that? You kind of drop some truth bombs in there. You see that fluoride stare go over their eyes. And that's kind of how it was with him. But
Dude, one of my favorite.
Well, you planted a seed. You still planted a seed that might sprout 5 years from now.
Hopefully.
Oh, for sure.
I'm hoping.
My favorite thing is when something that I don't even know if I guess I do support it, but I live in Florida and they banned fluoride in the water, and then they have the Krasenstein brothers have to argue in defense of putting fluoride back in the water.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, I swear to God, they posted about it.
What was the defense? Please don't say cavities.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. Of course.
Cavities.
So,
what are you, a dentist?
Yeah,
I'm like, just brush your fucking teeth, you
Are
idiots.
are you a dentist? Don't you know the 8 out of 10 dentists?
Who's Derek
And also
Rose? I've
just-
never heard of his outstanding work.
just as an aside, that because the teeth run meridians, like as a functional medicine consultant, a lot of people will have an issue. And then I ask them about cavitations and they're not making the connection. But a lot of times if you have a root canal, it's affecting other parts of the body. And then when I educate them on them, it's like light bulb turns on.
You got to.
And folks, I'm gonna bounce here in a second.
Charles,
but
before you do, make sure you tell everybody where they can find you, because you're down for the cause. You were fantastic. It was great hanging out with you in Nashville at Third Eye Carnival. You brought your whole family. The Kalergi van.
Yes,
I love
the
it.
Kalergi van. Yes, my mixed race children. Yes, the Kalergi. That's in fact who I'm about to go take care of right now, which is why I'm bouncing.
They were
You can
super
find me-
cute, and your wife was so nice. It was nice to see you again. So,
No, Third Eye was awesome, but yes, of course, Dave, Clint, Maryam, everybody. Nice to
Yeah,
chat
nice
with
to
you.
see you, Charles. I looked for your email and I wanted to reach out to have you on my show. And I would love to come on anyone who wants to discuss the book or the 5-year anniversary. I can take, direction. There's something
Absolutely.
I'm allowed to
Yeah.
say.
Definitely. I'll have to touch base about that. Yeah, for sure. But folks, you can find me. I'm on X, Twitter, whatever. Eyes and Ears, 3YES, 3ARS, Eyes and Ears. I'm also Monday AM Wake Up with Steve, 10 a.m. Eastern, where we just talk about everything. Steve is a truck of a person. So yes, we go through all that. But my
noticed.
story before. Nah, he's awesome. He's of course coming from a place of love, But
I know.
question
He
for
gets
y'all before I go. And this is a story for I'm gonna put it up in the messages there, but it's NVIDIA commits $500 billion into AI server production in the US. So chip maker NVIDIA says it plans to build artificial intelligence servers worth as much as $500 billion in the US over the next 4 years, with help from partners such as TSMC. NVIDIA is the latest US tech firm to back a push by President Donald Trump's administration for local manufacturing. Monday's announcement includes the production of its Blackwell AI chips at TSMC's factory in Phoenix, Arizona, and supercomputer manufacturing plants in Texas by Foxconn and Wistron, which are expected to ramp up in 12 to 15 months. So I want to leave you all with that story. 500 billion, similar to Stargate, 500 billion,
Building the robots that will later enslave us. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I'm of two minds on this. Like, I'm obviously concerned about the AI overlords and the robot overlords, but I also understand that NVIDIA and the microprocessors is the primary reason that the military-industrial complex is gearing up for war against China, because they're concerned about Taiwan. Therefore, maybe bringing the production of these fucking semiconductors home prevents World War III. So, I don't have a good answer on this one.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that too, because I don't like the government getting involved with businesses. Let these fucking you know what I mean? Like,
that used to be called fascism.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Let's keep the government out of. They shouldn't be making announcements of these joint ventures that they're doing with massive chip making companies or Amazon for their web hosting. This blurry line is between the private and public is real dangerous. man. I don't like this. I mean, yeah, like you said, it used to be called fascism.
Well, and we discovered how dangerous it is in 21, 22 when they tried to mandate fucking the products from the largest or some of the largest corporations in America or in the world into all of our bodies without them being tested and without any liability. It's like, well, that's pretty fucking fascist now, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So and the Democrats defended it, which is horrifying.
And it was a program that was run by the DOD. They were the head of the snake.
Well,
that puts a lot of faith in it.
And it was also the DOD that funded the research in the first place that created the bioweapons. So
that DARPA.
Yeah, on all levels, it's astonishing that there's no justice to be found for that. I mean, this is why, despite I got a ton of pushback from Steve and others when I ultimately decided to vote for Trump, and I understand why. Like to have any faith in the system is naive, and I'll admit that. But you had Tulsi Gabbard that was on the campaign trail talking about the plight of the Yemenis. You had RFK Jr. talking about prosecution, or at least really shedding light in a really profound way as to the origin story of COVID and everything else in that arena. And then to just get none of it is like, wow. Like,
it's a brutal pull, if ever there was one. And it's a good reminder to everybody. I'm all about being optimistic in life in general and things like that. But I am never optimistic about the governments. I just am not. My default mechanism is those people hate my guts and want me dead. And that's my baseline. That's where I start from. And then everything else makes way more sense. I can't bring myself to vote for them. Obviously, Ron Paul is the last person I voted for. Ron Paul gets a standing ovation at an Acapulco in front of a bunch of anarchists because he's consistent and he wants what's best for humanity. And he doesn't want wars and he wants sound money. And he may not be perfect, but he was delivering babies for 30 years before he got into politics. He's a human being and everybody can see that.
I got to give a speech in DC before Ron Paul. It was like one of the greatest moments of my life.
I bet. Amazing. I bet. He brings the house down at an Acapulco, as you know you've been.
Yeah. Dude's a legend.
So it can be done.
It can. But here's the thing.
And that's where they but it's like so you just don't want to.
But here's the thing. It's like Ron Paul's a legend, but it's also during his tenure, he passed almost nothing. He got almost nothing done in the immediate. Like all of his effect, all of his impact was on his followers, us, like all the people that went out and did work as a consequence of that. And it's just like sometimes you feel like the moment is so dire where we're in this Cold War with the largest nuclear power on earth in Russia, and I'm just like, man, I'm going to take a swing. Like this is the most outsider administration in terms of how it looked and what they were advertising themselves to be prior to the election. And the other thing that really twisted me was, I met and had conversations with Kash Patel. I did a talk in Vegas about how to defeat the deep state, and I'm on the panel with fucking Kash Patel, now the head of the FBI, and I met Tulsi Gabbard. I met a bunch of these people, Bobby Kennedy, and you just can't believe that they're all going to get in there and do nothing. You just can't believe it. But
and maybe deep down in their hearts they want to do something, but there's a calculation that gets made when you get to that level. As Bill Hicks kind of jokes, they show you the JFK assassination from an angle that you've never seen before, and you go, okay, maybe. I'm sure whether overt or
incredible.
covert.
It's just incredible because the panel was called "How to Defeat the Deep State." It's me, the chair of the Libertarian Party, Brett Weinstein, and Kash Patel, and like we're all of one mind. Like the FBI is dangerous as hell. CIA is dangerous as hell. Like there's got to be extraordinary reforms. He's talking about, I'm going to mothball this thing on day one. I'm going to do X, Y, Z. You're like, it's just I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't know.
I'm just unwilling to give these guys the benefit of the doubt anymore. I've been let that, you see so many of them and I just think, I mean, either you half-heartedly want to get rid of it. I mean, ultimately your first goal is stay alive.
Right.
Don't get on it, don't get your airplane blown up.
I think that is actually the dance that once you're actually in elected office, especially in the White House and the cabinet, it's just
stay
like
alive.
how do you stay alive?
Politically and physically.
Yeah, no, physically. I really do think it's an existential battle. Or these people are all demons and they just lie through their fucking teeth and they have no conscience or morality whatsoever. But after meeting them and talking to them, it's just very hard for me to buy that. So I lean towards it being, an existential battle of survival.
It could be both. I'm sure there's I mean, the thing about Washington, D.C. is it's a magnet for those personality types, those psychopathic personalities. It gives them everything they want. Yep. Like money and power and drugs and women or boys or whatever the fuck you're into. They got it in Washington, D.C. And if you've got a problem with that stuff, then they get the goods on you.
Sure. But I know a ton of people in this audience have read The Real Anthony Fauci by Bobby Kennedy. And
it's crazy.
And it's just an absolute sledgehammer to this man's entire, 40-year career in such a vicious way. I just don't know. I don't know how anyone would read that and then conclude if this guy gets put in as the head of HHS, his first and primary focus is going to be anti-Semitism on college campuses. You're like, there's no way that's going to happen.
This is the way they did. We'll put this in an astrological or setting. The way they detect black holes, because you can't see them, is you look for their effects on bodies near them, right? You look to see if it wobbles the orbit of somebody else. So if you're looking for what the just look for the effect it has.
Oh yeah.
When you see somebody who's going for it, and then all of a sudden you don't know who's doing it, maybe necessarily. I think we do.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden the greatest threat to health is not the vaccines that I've been talking about for the last 20 years relentlessly. It is magically now all of a sudden anti-Semitism. And you want me to sell that to the general public? I think that for some people, the message is listen to him. He knows what he's talking about. And I think for us, it's a humiliation ritual to watch him go through that. Stand up there and say that get the vaccine for your measles. Get the measles vaccine so that your kid doesn't get measles. And you watch it and you go, who the fuck are you now?
He wrote the foreword to a book that is dedicated to the inefficacy and the danger of the MMR vaccine. He wrote the foreword to it, and he says, this is super dangerous and totally unnecessary. In the first month as the head of HHS, he's tweeting out, the best way to not get measles is the MMR vaccine. You're like, you just...
So he is clearly, he understands the science. He's been talking about it. So he is clearly being influenced by an unseen force.
And that could be an Epstein video. Or
it could be anything.
Freak out.
It could be anything. I mean, this guy is a Kennedy, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? He's a puss hound.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's got bodies all over the place. Maybe even literally bodies.
Yeah,
Who knows?
He's
Bear in Central Park. What the?
He was very open about the skeletons. He was very open about the skeletons in his closet. So I just kind of wrote that off as he's just going to own it. He's going to eat it. Right. But then maybe there's some held over his head that's not ownable. That's imprisonable. Right. Or
he was tap dancing when they started asking him about his Epstein flights and his Epstein connections.
Maybe that's it. Maybe not. You know, it doesn't have to be Epstein. It could be anything. You know, you're in the public eye like that. You know.
Well, it's I didn't have any faith. Oh, go ahead.
Entered into a machine that he thought as an individual, I'm going to be able to change. And once he entered into it, he found that that's not going to happen. And now you're a slave to the machine and you're going to say and do what the machine wants you to. It's almost like that old saying, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. You know, you bring in all these dissidents into the arms of old Orange Jesus, which I think he's a false prophet and a Judas goat. And what better way to silence them and control them? Take away your opposition by buying them out, man.
Get close to you and then go.
I want to say that there are more wolves in sheep's clothing than ever. Mm-hmm. That the bioweapon really has allowed for people that are disembodied. It's not just my observation that it's like, hello, is anybody home? And that was the aim, and that it is really spiritual warfare, and it's the quality of your soul. I know I'm spiritually rich. I know that I've contributed and been in service. I know that I've been here before. I believe in reincarnation. So I interviewed Howdy McCoskey recently about exiting the cave. And interestingly, about 2 years ago, I got the memo, get your house in order. I took it a little bit too literally, but it is really about getting your house in order and doing the right thing. And I know that many of us haven't hoarded out our souls.
Mm-hmm.
And so just putting that out there, that people have to be really discerning.
Yeah. Let's wrap it. We're down to a nice. Maryam, tell everybody where they can get you, where they can find you.
So
honeycolony.com.
You can find me you can buzz on over to honeycolony.com, my magazine and marketplace of 14 years. I'm a functional medicine coach, so I'm working more and more with people using my intuitive skills. You can find me on Truth Lives Here on Rumble on Fridays at 3 Eastern. And you can nab a book on maryamhenein.com/George Floyd book. And that if anyone wants to interview me, I don't really care about whether you have a big or small following. And I would love to be on the show to discuss 5 years of investigative work. And as always, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Maryam. Good to see you again. Clint Russell is challenging Sam Tripoli for a number of podcasts. Tower Gang,
dude.
Dangerous Retards, Liberty Lockdown.
I'm busy, man.
Working with Luke.
Yeah, no, not anymore. That
not
ended,
anymore?
But no,
okay.
We parted ways, but I'm still very busy. Liberty Lockdown's the flagship. That's my solo show where I dive deep. If you want my non-safe dangerous, that would be Dangerous RTRDS. That's with Top and David, and it's definitely dangerous. And then I also do Tower Gang if you want really racist, retarded
and it's
comedy.
Definitely retarded.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this audience would probably be most attracted, as ridiculous as the name is, to Dangerous RTRD. If you want to follow all my work, just at Liberty Lockpod on X. Thanks for having me again, guys. It was a blast. And if Steve listens back to this, I just want him to know I like him a lot. I just get a lot of hate on the internet, and I just don't have time for it from my buddies. So he and I, if we see each other in person, it's all hugs and love, and I'll do his show, whatever. I just can't have the constant jabs.
I hear you. You've got your hands full with your two co-hosts.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of friendly fire going on with those guys from time to time. The Third Rail with Nature Boy. It was great to see you on Friday night with Jeff Berwick, Tim James, you and me.
Always good to hang out with some good people.
Hang out with you.
You know, it's kind of like a reunion of the, getting in person in Acapulco that we were at just not too long ago, including the gorgeous, fabulous, intelligent, awesome Miss Maryam Henein. So I can be found on Twitter, X, whatever they're calling it today, at The Real Nature Boy. The Third Row with Nature Boy podcast, broadcast live every Friday night on Rumble. You can find it at The Third Rail with Nature Boy, AM Wake Up, and TMP New Prisoners channels. Also, podcasts are available wherever podcasts are served. If you want to find out more information about me, the show, where it broadcasts, go to my link tree, and that is The Third Rail Podcast.
Thanks for coming out. We had Steve Poikonen from AM Wake Up. Go check out his show over on Rockfin and Rumble in the mornings. Also, we had Matt Ehret from Canadian Patriot. Check out his stuff. I republish it a lot at Activist Post. It's good stuff. Sam Tripoli is out on the road doing comedy. Not this very minute, but he will be. He might even be coming to your town. So go to samtripoli.com for tickets. And we had a chance to see him in Nashville about two weekends ago, and he was fantastic, man. He crushed. So well worth it. So find a babysitter, do what you got to do. Go out and see Sam Tripoli when he comes to your town. Ricky Varandas, the Ripple Effect Podcast.com. Go check it out. And Ricky's always ahead of the curve. We always ask him for his guests because he finds them. He reaches the hard to reach ones, and then we ask Ricky real nice. So if you want to be ahead of the curve, go to the Ripple Effect Podcast and start downloading that Midnight Mike and Sam are doing doom scrolling together as well. So if you're not into that, check out OBDM, the best, the funniest podcast in the world. And of course to Nature Boy for voiceover on that one. Macroaggressions. I've got an interview with David Icke that's out now. We were supposed to go an hour. We went an hour 45 because it's David Icke. Hell, we were on a heater. We couldn't stop. So if you're interested, go get that one. We talked about all kinds of banana stuff on there. And then when we got done, he said, I think that was the best one we've done. And I was like, I agree, David. I totally agree. That was, and I felt like I was exceeding my allotted time with him. So, but it's worth it in the end. So check that out. And activistpost.com for your news. If you're not getting your news there every day, consider doing that. You can get it on your mobile device as well. It works well. We rebuilt the website. It's brand new. It's fresh and fast. So go to activistpost.com. And for alternative health news, go to naturalblaze.com. That's it. That's it. Thanks, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed Steve screaming.
Thank you, everyone. Lots of love to you all.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me on here. I always enjoy it. Ricky, you are the man. And by the way, yeah, you're right, Charlie. He does get the killer guests, and we do kind of scavenge them from time to time.
I know. Yeah, I admit it.
Yeah,
All
so do I.
Bye, folks.
See you.
See ya.